We extend our heartiest welcome to all the speakers. I now hand over the stage to Mr. Prem Singh to take this session ahead.
Good morning. Okay, so firstly, thank you very much for inviting us here. Compliments to Federation of World Academics, Mr. Sharma, to you and your team for putting this show together. It takes a lot of amount of thought process, involvement, contribution, and a lot of preparation to get the people together and to organize such a wonderful show. So my compliments to all of you on behalf of all of us. With respect to hybrid working and implications on people and also the performance, I think this is one of the most talked about topic now, because I'm sure all of us do recall way back about 6-7 months ago when the work from home became a reality universally. A lot of companies started talking about how they are going to re-engineer their organizations, their working patterns, and how they are planning to move large number of their people in work from home model. And what we see today is really the hybrid working. In any given organization, there are a large number of people who are working from home, some people working from offices, depending upon the sectors. In IT and financial institutions, it is slightly more skewed towards home. In other manufacturing-based organizations, it is slightly more offline or working from office. We don't know how long it's likely to continue, but we do know that this is a reality. That being the case, I think it's only obvious that we deliberate how do we make the best out of it. And there is a research which has been carried out by one consulting organization, Aon Hewitt, which brought out that the impact of culture on organizations' performance is by far one of the most significant factors, and which determines the overall performance of the organization. And the research also brought out that those organizations which actively manage culture are likely to produce 3.5 to 4 times better financial results over a period of 3-4 years' time as compared to those organizations which just leave it to evolve on its own. Culture being so important, I think it's very obvious that I would like to ask my co-panelists, Harpreet, to talk about some of the things that organizations must do, organizations could do to make sure that the force of the culture or the impact of the culture, that play is seen in the organization's overall performance, because at the end of the day we are talking about people and performance both. So Harpreet, your insights, please.
Thank you, Mr. Prem. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like Mr. Prem said that, one of the things I think the organizations focus most on, right, and I think everything else becomes a subset is what the culture of the organization is. What is the culture that we want to build? And I recall in my initial years, when I was starting our G, the fact that how we make an employee spend the first 7 to 15 days in the organization was a paramount, right? So how do you do the new hire orientation? Who are the leaders you meet, et cetera, right? So from the smallest things on how does somebody dress up in an organization to the language that you use, the way the emails work, et cetera, were a part of the whole initial subset. Now suddenly everything seems to have gone behind the laptop screen, right? And how do you do some of those pieces, right? And I think it's something that honestly we are still learning, right? If I was to talk about my organization, which is a fairly small setup right now, we've hired close to some double-digit numbers in the last 1 year. That's one thing that we've kind of thought a lot about, struggled a lot on, saying how is it that we are going to make these people a part of our culture, right? And I think some of the things that we've tried to do and we've tried to focus on is, of course, number one, communicate and over-communicate, right? Because that's the one thing that's probably going to help in every aspect that we talk about as we go through the whole change that's there. The second piece, I think, and this not just to do with new hires, but really the whole touch and feel of the organization. We did a small survey last week to say, what is it that you miss about office? So where people come back and said, we've missed the coffee conversations. We miss, who do I, when I'm having a bad day at work, I don't think my mother will understand when I'm sitting at home and working, right? Or what are some of the new projects that are happening at work? I don't get to know all that, right? Because those are certain set of things which help someone being a part. What is culture end of the day? It's something where you feel belonging to a group of people, right? And I think those are some of the struggles that we are kind of going to deal with, right? So as I speak on this, it's not like we have all the answers, but I think a couple of things that we need to do is, of course, communicate. How is it that the organizations are going to walk the talk, right? What is it that the leadership team is going to do? How is it that, certain set of things, whether the way we present, the way we talk is going to be talked, and there's going to be a process that is going to be implemented to it, right? And of course, I think at some point of time, getting people back to work is going to be important, right? Maybe not full, and that's the reason why we are talking about hybrid work cultures today, because I don't think we are going to be quickly moving to a full-time online kind of a setup that's there, right? So yeah, I think that's what I would get started with, and back to you.
Sure, thank you very much. And you very rightly underscored the importance of connecting and communicating and making sure that there is a meaningfulness that one perceives at the workplace. And you brought out the essential point that at work from home, some of those elements are missing, and therefore, how do you manage that? Very well put. So moving on to my colleague on the right, Mr. Bakshi. So Mr. Bakshi, work from home, work from office, and then there is another narrative, work from anywhere, I mean, it's not confined only to these. You could be working from coffee shop, you could be working from the hotel lobby, you could be working from anywhere else. So, and then there is a large concept. How do you really, so the narrative is that whole concept is evolving. What's your take around this whole concept? And as a business leader, how do you manage this?
Okay, so Mr. Singh, how should I call you?
Yes, Prem, you can.
Prem, okay, since you called me Mr. Bakshi, that's what I thought. Okay, just to make...
Prem naam hai mera, not Prem Chopra, Prem Singh.
Just wanted to enlighten them on. Okay, great, thank you, and good afternoon everyone over here. I think I'll just take 30 seconds to talk about how important this theme that theme of this session is, which is the implications of hybrid working on people as well as performance. All of us know how this past year has gone by. It has obviously given us a lot of valuable lessons, right? I mean, world across the globe, suddenly we shifted gears and we moved to remote working. Now we see a lot of people are coming back to the offices. Still, there is a significant population which is working from home. But at least in India, we have started experiencing that there is a more and more hybrid working coming up. I think first from the organization perspective, we need to really ensure that the core purpose of the organization remains intact. The business objectives that we have in mind, of course, there is a need to bring in resilience. There is a need to bring in agility in our working. But as a leader, we need to ensure, and I'm just coming back to Prem, the point that you touched was how does it dovetail as far as the business is concerned. I think as a leader, we need to really be very compassionate with our colleagues and our employees. Important point here is what is that we are doing to empower our frontliners, because these are the people, especially the frontliners, who are largely doing work from office. Middle managers or the supervisors probably are doing work from home. but the people who have to be customer face, people who have to be on field, for them, they are back to the office. And I think it's important, how does the organization and the business leader really balances between the two, the erstwhile way of working and the new way of working. When you need 10 people to discuss something, to take a decision, half of them are there in the office, half of them are working remotely. And I think that paradigm shift each one of us have really experienced. And as I speak to various business leaders, I think all of us have learned the art of really managing this. And that's where I think our resilience, not only as an Indian, but as a professional, has really helped us. So if I talk about my organization, I think we are pretty clear. There are certain things that we'll continue to do right, irrespective of whether I'm at work or I'm at home. There are few fundamental building blocks that needs to be there, irrespective of what's happening. Of course, there will be certain delay. There would be certain different way of taking decision. Decision could be delayed as well. I think that is all acceptable as long as we don't lose sight of doing the things right. So to me, that piece has not changed as a business, as a leader. But what has certainly changed is our connect with the employees. No longer everyone is available in a physical proximity. What has really changed is the way we communicate, and my friend Harpreet very briefly spoke about it. What has changed is the expectation of the employees. But yeah, overall, it has been a nice change, and I think all of us are successfully, it looks to me, have managed it well.
Thank you. And you very well brought it out that certain things have been at the core, certain things are non-negotiable. Things like purpose, which Harpreet also mentioned earlier, you also brought that out. Certain things being non-negotiable, those will continue to happen, but the way in which you carry out that has certainly been changed and people have adapted. You spoke about resilience. So moving forward, let's move to the academic side, Sahil. So Sahil, there is a lot of change that also is happening in the academic space, and particularly from the standpoint of students. What do you think students could adapt during these times to make sure that they get the best out of this situation, and they are able to adapt rather quickly and also make the most of the situation in whatever way, whether it is technology or whether it is approach or attitude? What's your advice to the academia and in particular the students?
Thank you. Thank you, Premji. So I think I'm the odd one out here, an education sector person in between the industry. So I think in a way the academia industry integration has started happening through the panel. When I thought about the topic, so this has given me an opportunity to learn from the industry, and it enriches what we try to do at an academic institution, because ultimately our product is not the student who just graduated, but what the student does when the student enters the industry. I have a slightly different take on how the student of today will get integrated with the workforce of tomorrow. If you look at the way students are graduating today, they have a very less industry exposure. Their operating environment, they attend the classes, they go back to their homes or their hostels. After a few years, they graduate and they enter an environment which they are not familiar with. It's a very different environment for them, and it takes some time for them to familiarize themselves and to start performing. So performance management takes some time, and industry in a lot of cases has to reorient or retrain the graduates to be suitable for the industry. Now what has happened is the future of work, which is hybrid, is in a lot of alignment with the way education is happening. Why I say that is, if you look at the student's life, it is already in a hybrid mode. The student has to study with their colleagues and from the teacher in a school, but the student also has to study at home. and now increasingly more so because a lot of classes are happening online, and this will continue in the education space. The students are today much more integrated with what the future of workforce is going to be than the current set of graduates. So when the students are coming out later, 10 years hence, they are going to be defining the workforce rather than trying to fit in an existing workforce, and the industry will adapt to this dynamic nature of students. So I think it is kind of a reverse integration that now will take place. That is what we are observing when we see very innovative students bubbling with a lot of energy, enthusiasm and ideas. Why, what kind of a systemic or attitudinal shift we need to make this happen or to accelerate this? If you look back a little into the history of humankind, how we organized ourselves as a society, as an economy, before this industrialization of workplace happened, before the standardization of the workplace happened, we were in very small, autonomous, decentralized units. If you look at the way, I don't know about other countries, but in the Indian economy, our work was very decentralized at the rural level. So there were artisan communities, there were creative communities, manufacturing communities, agriculture communities, farmers. And if you look at their work, do we see that they need to do a blend? Are they operating in a hybrid environment? No. What they're doing on the farm, exactly that they're doing at their home. What a potter is doing at the potter wheel, exactly the same person the person is doing with their family, because it's integrated. It's not, there's no duality there. The entire family is a part of that kind of a working environment. And today we are, this famous memes come up when the person attending a meeting on video is sitting suit and tie and shorts or pajamas at the bottom. This is happening because we are living a dual life. I think the future is going to be more, this duality will reduce in the future, because students, what they're doing at their home, they're already gearing up to do the same thing at the workplace. The format, I think, to do this would be more when we become decentralized, autonomous and smaller in size. This can't be done in multi-thousand employee kind of organization. I think it's very difficult to do it at that scale. I think Zoho is one example. Harpreet ji was talking of culture. I think Zoho is an inspiration where they're not just building a culture within the organization, but also integrating it with the culture of that place, of the society. I think this kind of an integration between industry, academia, cannot be done unless we also integrate it with the society. So I would call it an industry, academia, society integration rather than only an industry and academia, because industry and academia is an outflow of what is happening in the society. So that would be my understanding of to make this possible. Thank you.
Fantastic. I think that's very well brought out, Sahil. So the point that the students are really leading this whole transformation in this journey, and it's a it's a part of continuum. It's a ongoing process of evolution. Moving forward, let's turn towards the business side, the entrepreneurship. And my question to Ankit is, last 1 year, we have seen a significant shift from offline mode to online mode of conducting business. So, Ankit, what has been your experience, how it has impacted the overall landscape of the business environment, and also, in particular, the notion about employee productivity? So what's your insight? What has been your experience so far?
Thank you, Premji. So, things have dramatically changed over the last 1 year. And so just to give you a quick background, we as a company, we work with beauty salons across the country to organize their working as well as supply products to them across the country. Now, when COVID happened, obviously the salons shut down. Now, you cannot do a haircut over a Zoom call, or you cannot do a facial over a Zoom call. So we saw the whole trend moving from in-salon services to DIY beauty at home. Where salons took the initiative, where hairdressers or salon estheticians started doing Zoom calls and video calls to educate consumers how to use products at home to take care of their hair and skin, because they were not able to visit to the salon. And of course, they were still doing work from home, like everybody's mentioned. So you have to look good at least in the top half where you are, facing the video. So I think that this industry played a very important role transitioning into DIY, which is do-it-yourself beauty. Again, the way things have changed is a sales organization then became a virtual organization where instead of physically visiting, because there are always these peaks that come where we have to stop working in the market and we say, okay, now let's transition back to the hybrid world of going back to connecting with your clients on Zoom or doing video chats or even doing telemarketing. So a lot of changes are happening. It's not easy for employees to suddenly be having one measure during one part of the season and then having another measure. So we're trying to kind of streamline that into a situation where they have more clarity about how they're going to be measured. We are also being a little more flexible because these times also call for some flexibility, because it also impacts the mental health of people. All of us go through our own troubles because of the changing environment that's happening around us. Now, till 2 months back, everybody was happy-go-lucky. Suddenly now, this whole COVID thing has again become a big issue, and of course, the cases are increasing. So now again, our whole landscape is changing and evolving. So it's you have to be flexible. You have to give employees a chance to be able to accommodate first to the environment, because that accommodation to the environment is very essential for them to be able to then perform in any environment. So it's a constantly adaptive scenario right now. And but I think the good thing is we've learned to leverage technology like never before. Today, if I think most of the companies in sales, if they were traveling, if sales heads were traveling from one state to the other, they were spending a lot of money on hotels and flights and trains. Today, a lot of those meetings can happen over a Zoom call with the same outcomes. So I think the positive sides are that everyone's learned to leverage technology a lot more in this hybrid environment. And that technology has also made it easier for us to measure performance in a smart way. Thank you.
So again, the same similar sound bites, adapting, making sure that the deliverables are done, but in a different manner. Let's now hear from the audience. We have last 5 minutes now. In these 5 minutes, I think we could take any 2 questions. And so any questions from the audience? Yes, yes.
You see, the world of work has kind of changed. I mean, we have all of us agreed, whether it's academia or the industry or corporate world. My question to the panel, and I'm not being very specific, anyone can, is that why are we trying to replicate what we have been doing at offline work in the online mode and vice versa? Why don't we take them as 2 separate kind of worlds and try to get the best out of it? Okay, and if that is the way to form, because I think that's where we'll be more productive and everything will go very fine. So
Okay, thank you, brilliant. And may I request my colleague Bakshi Saab, you want to share your thoughts around this?
Okay, so sir, if I've understood your question correctly, why corporates or academia is not making the best use of either online or offline, why we are trying to replicate the 2. So in the first place, I think there is no clear-cut demarcation that it is being replicated per se, because the physical conditions are different. The work environment, the work space is different, right? People that we are surrounded with online and offline are different, timings are different, and so on and so forth. So there are, in a way, a lot of changes that has already happened. But what is not changing is in terms of the delivery. So what I was expected to deliver sitting on my desk, right? I'm continue to be expected to deliver sitting in my home desk. Obviously that has not changed, right? And that, to my mind, there's no need for us to change also, because at the end of the day, there's certain delivery. It's only the how part that has changed. And hence, I don't think so there is a major issue in my mind again that we are replicating. We tend to replicate what we have seen or experienced as a success in the past. All of us are mentally wired and attuned something that we have seen success, obviously we tend to replicate it. But there are plenty of examples where this kind of uncertainty or pandemic has thrown this kind of uncertainty where people have really done different things together, right? There are examples where certain things were not being done earlier, all right, or not being discussed as a group or as a forum is happening. More so in the space of learning and engagement as far as the workforce is concerned. So to my mind, is two things are happening differently.
So what I understand, just to that kind of reminds me, कुछ चीज़ें बदली हैं, बहुत सारी चीज़ें बदली हैं, लेकिन कुछ चीज़ें नहीं बदली हैं. तो मुझे एक छोटा सा शेर याद आ गया, just to reinforce the point. तारे कहते हैं चमन बदला है, ज़मी कहती है अमन बदला है, लेकिन इस माहौल की खामोशी कहती है आदमी वही है, बस कफन बदला है. Yes, sir. You had some question. Yes, please.
Can I ask one question, please?
Yes. And after that,
it
we'll come
is-
to you, and that will be the last one. Yes, please.
Any one of the panel members can answer this question. Specifically, this question is to the industry expert sitting on the dais. I, being leading a B school, we are facing certain logistic challenges these days. I'm sure that you can give us some guidance and directions how to proceed. Like say for example that the summer internships are going to happen very soon in our campus. And most of the companies, the corporate houses are not very open to the offline summer internships to be given to the students. So what do you really give us the guidance in terms that are there any relevance of going for the online summer internships in the different sectors? That is one point. Secondly, what exactly are going to be the learning outcomes from the online format of the summer internships, which definitely is not something which is easily palatable today to us even within the campuses? And third, what exactly you believe the students of management education should imbibe so that you really can make them fit for your organizations, consider them fit for your organization, and we can fully justify the concept of corporate readiness for our students.
Thank you. And may I request my colleague Harpreet? Yeah, so essentially, if you can share your thoughts and yeah.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
So let me try and answer at least some parts of it, right? And I'll take the first part to say, is there relevance in going on you know, what you call the online internships or whatever? I would say yes, right? And I say that from my limited experience where we've had certain, you know, there was this quick shift that we made from where folks were supposed to join us at work, and then we said, okay, what do we do with them, right? And it was all about adapting. It was all about learning to say, how is it that we're going to, you know, as an organization, we decided that we're not going to say no to people, and we're not going to say, okay, this is not happening, right? So how do we make that relevant, right? So obviously, a lot depended upon how the leader who was managing that piece, you know, worked through how the learning happened. Was the learning for the summer intern as good as being in the office? Maybe not, right? But I think in the given scenario, that's really the best case that was there. Yeah. I think the second question on how do you think you know, students can you know, prep themselves up, right? I think, you know, I would say in some ways it's in a similar fashion of, you know, moving from academic world to the corporate world. But I think some things that do matter is that, you know, it's going to be a virtual world now, right? So what is it that you want to do in that virtual world, right? So for example, you know, your brevity of thought process. You know, and it might sound a little ambiguous, but your brevity of thought process or the brevity on how you're going to go across and ask a certain set of questions, you know, your preparedness for something has to be much more. Because earlier you could come into the office, you could take help from certain set of people before you're going into something, right? So I think those are things that I could just probably think of top of the mind. You know, I'm sure you have some.
Sure. With your permission, Prem?
Yeah, very quickly because I'm
okay.
also respectful of the time and
All right.
ma'am is, yeah.
Again, I think this issue of, with respect to the summer training, ma'am, online or offline, is more in the mind. If you really think from the student's perspective, this is the first formal opportunity, apart from smaller projects that they happen to do during the first year, that they get into the corporate world, and for them it's the experience. For them it's experience to meet physically, for them there is experience to look at the workplace and so on and so forth, besides of course getting some learning. As far as learning is concerned, I don't think so it doesn't matter, right? Whether it is online or offline. We have also followed similar to what Harpreet has said in our organization. Whatever, if let's say it was physical, face-to-face, we would have sat on the day one, would have explained him or her what is the expectation. We would have reviewed every 2 weeks or every month, depending upon what kind of project is. All that happened even online. We as a HR head, we also met them online. And of course, since lockdown got lifted sometime later, then we started getting to the offices also for once a week. So I think it's more in the mind. Of course, it helps for them to be there at the workplace. But yeah, we need to be flexible, and that's where the resilience comes. So to me, it doesn't matter much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I see that there is one, two, and there is somebody else also raised hand. And I respect that there are some more questions. So may I request and may I propose, since there are at least 4 or 5 people wanting to ask questions, it's very important topic. So why don't we utilize the time during lunch time, and I would request those individuals to reach out to the panelists, all of us, at least many of us should be around during lunch time, because we also need to stay respectful of time for the next session, and therefore I would request that let's pose these questions to the panelists during the lunch break. And but what it really brings out, just to summarize the discussion, hybrid working is a reality. We got to manage, and we got to use all the lessons around adaptability, resilience. My colleague spoke about managing the best of the two worlds, and thanks to you, you raised that question. And so it's not really a dichotomy, it's trying to manage the sort of combination of many factors. Not easy, but I think such interactions do help us draw some insight, some lessons. So I hope this has been useful to that extent. So it has been a pleasure talking to all of you. My big thanks to my panel members, thanks to all of you. And thank you because you are the reason why aap na hote to hum bhi idhar na hote. So thank you very much and wish you a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. May I now request Mrs. Sanchita Jindal, former Director, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, to please join us on the stage for the citation of our speakers. Mr. Sahil Arora, co-founder and CEO, Rishihood University, Sonipat. Mr. Ankit Arora, CEO at Streamline Beauty India Private Limited. Mr. Prem Singh, President, Group HR at JK Organization. K.S. Bakshi, Group Head, HR at Interglobe Enterprises. Harpreet Sandhu, CHRO at India Mortgage Guarantee Corporation.